And it strikes me, it's been a long, long time since I watched the opening ceremony of the Olympics, but there's two feelings that people have when they march in the opening ceremony. There's the feeling of, like, let's say, Jamaican bobsled team, which is, we're just happy to be here. We're not nervous, we're thrilled, because this is it. And then there's the people who really plan to win, and really plan to compete. And either they skip the opening ceremony, or they're there, but their mind is elsewhere. We're in the second group. We're not just happy to be here. We plan to compete for real. And that's why, there's a feeling of spirituality in the room, but I think there's also a fear in the room. And somebody said to me, I wish my Selichot had emotion to it. Here's the thing. Fear is an emotion. It really is. And, we have what to be afraid of. There's nothing embarrassing about that. It's who we are. If we take Selichot seriously, then we're happy to be here, we're enjoying the singing, and we also plan to compete. And as a result, we're nervous, and we should be nervous. I want to share one thought with you. It's a thought that I always think about right before Selichot start. Based on an idea that I heard from Amital a long time ago. The pasuk in today's parsha said, "V'lo nasan Hashem lochem leiv l'das ve'einayim lirot v'oznayim lishmoa ad hayom hazeh." And Rashi quotes a Gemara in Avodah Zarah, among the various pshatim that he gives. The Gemara says that a person doesn't have the ability to understand what his Rebbe says sometimes until after 40 years. So it's much less than 40 years. I had this thought a few years ago, but I thought it as follows. Rav Amital used to love to quote. He had a few Gemaras that he went with. Acher was a person who he talked about a lot. Acher, of course, was Elisha ben Avuya, who had been and continued to be the Rebbe of Rabbi Meir. And the Gemara in Chagiga Tezvav has a series of stories about Acher. But there it talks about Acher as Kitzeitz Benetiros. What does that mean? It means Acher became an apostate, became a kofar, everything bad you can think of. He wasn't a person who just missed an occasional million. He became bad. He sinned greatly. And the Gemara tells an amazing story that it was a Shabbos, either it was a Shabbos or a Shabbos Yom Kippur, and Acher was riding on a horse, and Rav Meir was walking behind him. And at some point, Acher said to Rabbi Meir, Meir, Chazor la'acharecha, Meir, go back, Kvar shi'arti bi'itvei susi she'kanu tchum Shabbos. It's an amazing thing. Acher's on a horse, but he's counting, and he tells Rabbi Meir, stop following me, because you're gonna pass the tchum Shabbos. So Rabbi Meir, on a takeoff on his Chazor la'acharecha, says, you too, Chazor la'acharecha, meaning do tshuva. And Acher says, I can't. Far shamati me'achorei ha'pargod, shuvu banim shovavim, chutz me'acher. I already heard in Shamayim, the voice went out, everybody should do tshuva except for Acher. Acher is not allowed to do tshuva. So Amital asked, along with everybody else in the world, how could that be? It goes against the fundamental premise that we have, that, ad yom moschat techaka lo b'tshuva, Afilu Rasha Gomu Kochaya, because of the Teshuva, the last day of his life, right? We have so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu always accepts our Teshuva. How could it be that a Bas Kol said that Shuvu Banim Shovavim Chutz Me'acher? So the answer that most people give is the Bas Kol wasn't meant to be understood literally. It didn't mean that Acher could not do Teshuva. It meant that usually we say Habal L'Tayar Misayin Lo, that if a person wants to do Teshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps him. In this case, Acher had crossed the line. He was such a bad guy that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't help him anymore, but of course he could do tshuva. Okay, Rav Amital said something else. Rav Amital said there was no such Bas Kol. Acher thought there was such a Bas Kol, but there wasn't. And I remember thinking, I don't get it. You can't. The Gemara says there's a Bas Kol. What does it mean? And Rav Amital just says there wasn't a Bas Kol. And I kind of got stumped at that point, that, how could you disagree with the idea? Until many years later, I forget how many years later, but certainly married, I had kids. And I heard the same gospel. And I'll explain. We grow up in a world of responsibility. We grow up in a world where actions have consequences. That's the world that we live in. And you learn it in school, and one day you'll teach it to your children. That if you play ball in the backyard and you break the neighbor's window, of course you apologize, but you have to pay. There's a consequence. You broke the window. There's a consequence. Everything we do, you can't get away. There's no free lunch. That's the world we live in. It makes us responsible, and it's true. Except it undermines the fundamental premise of Teshuva. The fundamental premise of Teshuva is you can get away with it. It's not that simple, but if done right, you don't have to pay for the window. And we simply don't believe that. Because the Bas Kol whispers to us, it's not true. You've done so many bad things, you cannot go back anymore. And because we live in a world of responsibility, we believe the Bas Kol. I think, I'll give you an example. A good example, a bad example, I'm not sure. You know, you bought Volkswagen stock, 10. Okay? And you watched it go to 20, to 30, to 40. Wow, you quadrupled your money. But you know what? You thought, I could get to 50. So you wait. And it gets to 45 and 46, and then the recall comes. And there's a problem with the fuel and whatever, and it plummets back to 40, 30, 20, 10, 5. And you lost, $100,000 of profits, and you lost half of your original investment. And you genuinely feel bad. So what do? The SEC has a department of repentance. Okay, so you go there, and you tell them, listen, I learned my lesson. I was a pig. I quadrupled my money, but I thought I could do better. I promise you, I learned my lesson. I will never do it again. Please give me back my money. So they laugh at you, because that's not the world that we live in. You learned your lesson. That's right. You lost money. That's not the way Teshuva works. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises us that if we do Teshuva properly, we can ignore the Bas Kol. If we do Teshuva properly, we don't have to pay for it. We can actually become better. We can become the people we want to be. And I remember thinking, years later, that's what Rav Amital meant. The Bas Kol that says to me, listen, you did it already, there's no way you're going to get away with it. That's the Bas Kol that speaks to all of us. And that's the Bas Kol that spoke to Acher. But Rav Amital said it wasn't true. And there's a second type of Bas Kol that we all hear. It's related to it, but it's slightly different. And that's the Bas Kol that tells us we know who we are. That's the Bas Kol that told me, listen, you're a lawyer and you live in Tina. It's not terrible. That's who you are. And you listen to it. And you believe it. And it tells each of you a different thing. It tells you that, listen, you're a good guy, but Tzvila Tzibur is not that, it's beyond you. Or you're a good guy, but, afternoon Seder, I could take an hour or two off. Everybody has whatever they have. And the Bas Kol tells you, you know who you are. Stop trying to be somebody who you're not. That's the Bas Kol that spoke to Elisha ben Avuna. That's the Acher Bas Kol. And Rav Amital said, it's not true. We have to tune out the Bas Kol. We have to tell ourselves to stop listening to the Bas Kol because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows better. You don't know who you are. I don't know who I am. We say it because it's comfortable. We feel comfortable saying to ourselves, listen, this is who I am. It limits the failure that's possible because you don't aspire to too much. The beginning of Selichot is when you say to yourself, that's not who I am. There's no limit to who I am. I'm going to stop listening to the Bas Kol. I can be anything I want to be if I just work hard enough at it. And in the end, maybe this idea is also shot in a Yerushalmi and Makos. No, I don't know Yerushalmis and Makos off the top of my head. It's in Al HaTshuva. But the Yerushalmi says the following. Shalu lechochma, chotei ma'onsho. They asked intelligence, what's the punishment for a sinner? Chochma said, v'hanefesh hachotas hi kamas. Get punished. Shalu lenevuah, chotei ma'onsho. They asked nevuah. Nevuah, prophecy, is just a higher level of chochma, super intellect. And super intellect correctly answered, Chatoim tirdof ra'a. Let them chase evil. Shalu the Gemara and Shalu LaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chote ma'onsho. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Yaseh Teshuva v'yizkater. Chachma and Nevuah and all of our intellect tells us it doesn't work. But in this case, we shouldn't listen to our intellect and we shouldn't listen to the Pascal. We should listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Yaseh Teshuva v'yizkater.